everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, you've heard of spiritual but not religious.
Yeah.
Well, get this. There's a whole new thing out there. Religious, but not spiritual.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it new.
It's new. It's new to me.
It's a category we've never talked about because it's dumb. But there.
It's actually a really complicated group of people, and we'll get into it. We're going to get into it later in the show.
It's genuinely fascinating. I would stick around. Hell, fast forward to that. Skip all the rest of this bullshit.
No, because I got some good stories, Dan.
Oh, okay. Don't. You have to listen to the whole show, you guys. I'm sorry. I apologize, but you gotta.
Yeah, including Dan, the 1 million mom herself.
Oh.
You know this. It's the anti-LGBTQ plus organization, 1 Million Moms.
Yeah, she. And it's genuinely just like a lady.
Didn't they tried to have like a 1 million mom march, right? Back in the day.
Yeah.
And like 3 people showed up.
Literally tens of dozens of people.
It was a little bit better of a turnout than that. I will grant them that. But 1 million mothers did not show up.
That was not what it were.
And, these marches on Washington, D.C. and whatnot. Well, anyway, right now, the 1 million mom, she is upset about a new TurboTax ad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. TurboTax has got her
For those of you lucky enough not to be Americans, we have the most idiotic tax system on the planet where rather than our government just telling us how much we owe, we all have to sort of calculate it ourselves and somehow sort out how to.
And it's unnecessarily complicated. And sort of just this horrible mind-numbing process. So what has happened is there's this industry of which TurboTax is one of the companies. There's also like H&R Block and some others that have these online websites that will sort of file your taxes for you. Right.
Yeah. You still have to enter in all of this information, whatever, and then it calculates what your tax is owed. And
it's really, really dumb rather than like the government just having its own website.
Right.
Especially for like the easy stuff. Right. Like if you're just Joe Blow and you're doing a standard deduction and blah, 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 whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But super easy stuff. You don't have a lot of things that complicate it. You should literally just be able to get on the website and either accept the government's tax bill or, I don't know, accept it. Right.
Or
like
fight
what else
it
are you going to do?
And lose.
Right? Yeah. So, but anyway, she's upset because TurboTax this year has released an ad on TV, primetime television. They're running this ad, Dan, of a gay couple that needs TurboTax's
paying
services.
Taxes. How dare they pay taxes? These damn queers paying taxes.
It's supposed to be cute and funny. This ad. It's Doug and Andre, a mixed race male couple who say they've, quote, navigated a turbulent housing market by buying a, quote, boater home. So it's like this boat house thing, right? So things are just complicated for their taxes. Well, TurboTax to the rescue, right? Yeah. But the million mother mom says it appears that TurboTax is promoting same-sex marriage to please a small portion of the population while pushing away the much larger percentage of potential conservative customers. Millions of Americans strongly believe marriage should be between one man and one woman, but TurboTax would rather take sides than remain neutral in the culture war.
I love that. I love that she's mad. That makes me really happy. And I love that Look, I haven't seen the commercial, but it doesn't sound like it even mentions marriage. It mentions a damn boat.
Yeah.
Is she mad at gay boating?
Well, I mean, it is clear that Doug and Andre are married. I can't remember. I did watch the ad, but they're definitely a gay couple that bought a house. Like it is. They're playing it up. They're having fun. But for me, it's like, she's all upset that like let's see. And she says an even greater concern is that the controversial commercial is airing during prime time when children are likely watching television.
Oh!
Right. And so she's but she's the one who's amplified this because like the fact of the matter is that like, first of all, children aren't watching television during prime time, right? Not in any large numbers. I don't know. Maybe Christian children are watching it.
I don't know any children that watch any broadcast television.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't even happen anymore.
More likely you should be complaining about the delicate senior citizens.
Right.
Right. That are watching primetime television.
That's who's going to be shocked and offended.
But the fact of the matter is she took the bait.
Yeah.
She just did all of this free advertising for TurboTax because now news organizations are picking up the story. And I've watched an ad that I would not otherwise have watched. Didn't change my opinion about TurboTax, but I've seen their ad and that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
They have the Million Mother Mom has, the million, what is it? I called it the Million Mother Mom. That's not what it is. The, whatever she is, she has a petition telling the company to pull its ad immediately, and she claims to have over 13,000 signatures. Wow.
They're all technically her signature, but she's done it 13,000 times. So that's
she's just so angry.
I can't stop writing my name. I'm so mad.
Yeah. I mean, I really do kind of wish that like the media didn't take her bait, right?
Yeah.
Which is I'm important and I have this thing that I need to say, because it really is like it's this insignificant organization and it's probably not anything that's worthy of us getting definitely isn't concerning that there's this angry woman typing away at her computer,
tweeting furiously.
But nonetheless, I guess I took the bait too. But that's the job. That is what we do. We take
the bait,
the bait, and tell you what the Christians are saying.
We show it to you all. All right. Well, I have an interesting story here. This is a Pew survey. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of those.
Why would they do that?
And you and I, over the course of the 12 years that we've been doing this show, have tracked the rise of the nuns, the category of people, the nuns,
the NONES.
Indeed, nuns. The people who are saying that they are not affiliated with any particular religion.
Right.
And that includes atheists and agnostics, but it also includes people who just are like, oh, I'm a nothing. I'm not a member of anything. So, and a lot of those are a lot less committed to anything really than atheists and agnostics. There's some interesting developments. One thing is that the category of nuns had dipped sharply this year. It was over 30% and dropped down to 28%.
Okay.
Which is levels like from 3 or 4 years ago. So that's an interesting thing. It's dipped before and then gone back up. So this could just be a weird little hiccup. Those things happen.
Right.
but it is interesting.
I mean, what's the margin of error of this poll too? Like, it might still be within the margin of error.
I don't know. That like a few percentage points seems pretty significant.
Okay.
But I'm not a statistician, and I don't have that margin of error right here.
Okay.
I'm looking for it. Anyway, one thing I wanted to mention, there's some interesting breakout statistics from this poll. I saw two different write-ups of it, and they focused on different things. Hemant Mehta had some interesting pullouts, which is that atheists and agnostics are like that part of this group are very different from the nothing in particular part of the group.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense.
And so I wanted to point out a few of those differences. And we're talking about things like community involvement or political engagement.
Oh, okay.
Life satisfaction.
Okay.
So that's interesting. And then we have the we can compare it all to the religiously affiliated U.S. adults. Now, this is all self-reported. So, what we're talking about is not the truth, but what people say to pollsters when they are asked.
Right.
Make of that what you will. But in community involvement, the percentage of people who said that they volunteered last year, 21% of atheists said they did it. 22% of agnostics said they did it.
Interesting.
Only 15% of the nothing in particulars said they did it.
Ew. Okay.
And 27% of religiously affiliated U.S. adults. Now, I am going to guess. No, like when I think back to my time as a Mormon, I would every year have said, absolutely, I volunteered, even though a lot of that was just like doing shit around the church.
Right.
Which to me doesn't actually count as like volunteering in the sort of charitable sense of the
correct.
phrase.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's hard to know what those numbers mean. I wish that pollsters would, like, for instance, when they talk about charitable giving, I wish that they would cut out tithes. Right. Try and parse that out of it, because I think that it skews the numbers, and I don't think that counts as charitable.
Right.
That's just membership dues for your cute little club. So here's another thing, and this is interesting. Political engagement. This is people who said that they voted in the 2022 midterms. Obviously, this is just people in the United States of America. We can't speak to any other country. So those who voted who say that they voted in the 2022 midterms, atheists, 50%.
Oh, wow.
Agnostics, 49%.
Boo.
Nothing in particular, 32%.
Ew. You know what I'm starting to think about these nothing in particulars?
They're just apathetic.
Yeah.
In general. They just, which I
can't blame them, right?
No.
Like, if you're sort of like, things aren't super great and feel goody in this country right now, right?
No.
And so, like, I get it. Like, you if you're checking out, that's fine. And there's probably always going to be a percentage of people checking out, but like, sounds like they're checking out a religion, organized religion, and checking out of politics.
Yeah, they just don't want to have to think about any of the things,
right,
or something. Now, the highest category of people who said they voted in the 2022 midterms, and this should be this should be a wake-up call for all of us, religiously affiliated people at 51%, higher than atheists and agnostics. So we've got to figure shit out.
Yeah,
you guys.
We have no excuse.
We have no excuse. Atheists were by far the most, the ones that followed government and politics and public affairs the most.
Oh, okay. So wait, you're spending the time to follow
and then not voting.
I don't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Not right now.
Get out there.
Not right now. When we've saved the
democracy,
the democracy, when the union is united once again,
is no longer in direct peril, then you can allow apathy to kick back in.
But right now, no. It's not an option.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's an interesting one. Life satisfaction.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so family life. 85% of religiously affiliated U.S. adults say that they are satisfied with their family life.
Wait, how much?
85.
Wow.
That I will give away the game and say that is the highest number.
Okay.
Of all of the numbers.
Okay.
Nothing in particular. They're at 78% satisfied. Agnostics, interestingly, also 78%.
Okay.
Atheists, 82.
Okay.
So pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close to the religious affiliated.
Wow.
I'll jump to the people looking at the way things. Well, let's talk about their local community, because this one actually surprised me. This is satisfied with your local community. This time, the religiously affiliated are not the highest. The religiously affiliated, 77% satisfied with their local community. That's pretty high.
Yeah.
Nothing in particular, only 66% satisfied.
Okay.
With their community. Agnostics, 69%. And with the highest satisfaction of their community, atheists come in at 79%.
What? How's that
What community are you people living in?
Your community sucks, people. How do you not see this?
Well, a lot of us, you and I included, have found wonderful friends.
Yeah.
In our community.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's it.
Maybe that's it, Dan.
Anyway. Yeah. The last one that shocked me is in a category called social trust. Because there's one category that's called loneliness and hopefulness. Yeah, religious people are the most hopeful and the least lonely. That's nice for them.
Right.
Good for you guys. I kind of get it. I don't know. Atheists are the least hopeful.
How? No.
Probably because we're the ones that are like looking more clearly at the rest of the world.
Yeah. No.
Anywho, but atheists are not the most lonely. Agnostics are the most lonely.
Oh,
that's kind of sad.
Well, they just can't make up their minds,
right? just join a club, get on the fence, or rather off the fence.
Yeah.
Come down on the side.
Right.
Finally, this is the social trust question. Percent of people who say most people can be trusted.
Oh,
that is a really interesting, weird question for me. And as a neurodivergent person, I'm like, that question is insufficient. Trusted in what circumstances? Trusted to do what? What are we talking about here? I need to understand much more of the question before I feel like I can answer it.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, I don't believe in that.
You don't work with generally speaking.
But lots of people answered the question. What I want you to guess what category you think has the highest percent of people who would say most people can be trusted, and it is by a margin of, let me do some quick math here. 12%.
Okay.
There's a 12% margin. These people believe most people can be trusted 12 points higher than anybody else.
Could we say that the group that's generally the most gullible and falls for scams would be the same group?
I'm not going to give you hints.
Oh, come on. Well, I'm going to say it has to be the Christian believers, the believers in God.
That's what I would have said.
Yeah.
They come in at 32%. Only 32% of religiously affiliated people say that most people can be trusted.
Oh no.
Of the people who of the unaffiliated but not atheist or agnostic, only 28% believe that most people can be trusted.
Boy, those poor people. I'm starting to feel for those people.
And coming in at a whopping 51% is atheists.
Atheists are more... What?
Atheists saying most people can be trusted.
I'm going to have to spend some time thinking about that.
Right? You wanted to make us gullible dupes because of it. You were ready to say that whoever's highest on this is...
But there's a thing with like the Christians when they fall for it, they're falling usually within their own group.
Yes.
Right. In fact, my next story is actually about that. Can we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Because,
but yeah, sit with that, you people.
Because I mean, and this really does highlight that idea that like,
right.
It's your in this case, pastor has an investment opportunity, right? And well, then I'm all in, right? Like I'm gonna put tens of thousands of dollars into this guy's little thing. In this case, it was also Index Coin, which is a cryptocurrency that he and his wife set up. Eli Regalado and his wife Caitlin, they're they're in Denver, I believe. And they were telling their would-be investors that the Lord had told him, right? Speaking of Eli, that they would become rich if they invested. This is the
thanks, Lord.
The state's division of securities has released these details in the press
If the
release.
division of securities involved, something's gone a little bit askew.
Turns out Index Coin was practically worthless, but he was still able to get 300 people to part with a collective $3.2 million, of which the state's division of securities is alleging that the couple took 1.3 million of that 3.2 for their own purposes, including things like the Lord telling them their house needed to be remodeled. Literally, he says, a few $100,000 went to a home remodel the Lord told us to do. We took God at his word and sold a cryptocurrency with no clear exit. Now, the thing that he's done, and this is my original point for this, like I'm kind of coming on the tail of your story with this, and so I'm not exactly approaching it the way that I initially was thinking, which is this whole the Lord told us to angle. Yeah. Right. Because he goes on camera online, right? And he admits to the whole thing, right? He says that, yes, we did this, but the Lord told us to.
Right.
Right.
It's the Lord's scam, not ours.
Yeah. And I'm just like, dear God, like how far we've come from the Billy Swaggart days, right? Where he goes on TV. Billy Swaggart was a
Jimmy Swaggart.
Was it Jimmy Swaggart? Okay.
Isn't it?
I don't know. He goes on camera back in the late 80s, early 90s, and admits to the what he was being accused of, which was, I think he got caught with like a gaggle of prostitutes, right? Yeah. And so he goes on camera in his church. Yeah. He's in televangelist mode. He's at the pulpit and crying. He says, I have sinned. Like it was this famous clip, right? And he at least performed, right, for his audience, right? That he was repentant, right?
And that he had done a sin.
Exactly. Like he admitted to it and did this big performance. Now people from the outside, it was clear that it was just a performance, but he was able to fool a certain number of his followers, I suppose. Yeah. Right. And so how far American Christianity has come, right? that now they don't even like, this guy is just like, yeah, I did it, but God told me to.
God assured me that this was a really good investment for you people.
That he told me to rip you off. Right. Yeah. This was money that was meant for me to remodel my house. And let's see, to buy jewelry, pay for an au pair. And let's see, what were some of the other things? Yeah, you just, live a life of luxury, right? God wanted me to have that at your expense. Now, 3.2 million divided by 300 people averages out to be like over $10,000, right, per person. Like I saw that, like 300 people, boy, getting to 3.2 million. Like he had a few people give a lot of money, and probably a lot of people who gave 500, 1,000. Right.
Don't invest in crypto, you guys.
First of all,
we're not investment gurus, but that's a bad idea.
Yeah. And
don't ever, like, if you don't have just gobs of money that you literally don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
Don't invest in anything you don't fully understand, that you can't see why it would be worth anything.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Good advice, I'm sure. Yeah. And this is all money that he, like, when he was raising the money, he was telling people that the proceeds would be used to help widows and orphans, as well as line their pockets, right? Like these are people who were looking for a get rich quick thing. And they trusted, right, their pastor. They trusted somebody in their community when people on the outside of the community apparently aren't very trustworthy. So,
there you go.
Too bad.
Well, one of the big things that is being talked about right now, especially among the younger generations, is colonization.
Yeah.
To be a colonizer, to be accused of being a colonizer is to be accused of of being entirely insensitive to another group of people that your group of people just slammed with your own sensibilities and your own ideals and whatever. We're talking about sort of when the Europeans came to this continent and
everywhere else.
Yeah. And murdered a whole bunch of people. And then also like inflicted a European sensibility on them.
Right.
Well, there is an accusation of colonization that has been levied.
Oh no.
In Uganda.
Oh.
And they are livid about it.
Okay.
And that I'll just read a quote. This is from a 55-year-old father of 6 in Wakizo, which I guess is in Uganda. And he said he was looking at some photographs. He said, "These images make me think the world is coming to an end.
Oh no.
They are things you can't imagine happening, and people are blindly supporting them."
Oh no.
He's worried that the colonizers are coming in to make him accept these pictures of 2 men kissing each other and 2 women kissing each other in wedding ceremonies.
Oh no. Oh no.
The damn colonizers are trying to make them accept gay people in Uganda.
No.
And they are, it's the end of the world. He literally said the world is coming to an end, is what he believes. And here's the real shit part of it. The part that breaks their hearts completely.
Oh no.
Is that there's a lot of Catholics there, and the Catholic clergy there cannot believe that these that these colonizers in the Catholic Church are trying to make them okay with blessing gay people.
Oh. Yeah, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, the colonization, Dan.
I think
these
these Catholic,
maybe are using that word a little.
They're playing fast and loose with it.
Sure.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I vacillate on this one because it's like, yes, it is an example of them taking a sort of progressive buzzword and flipping it on, turning it back on itself. But also, they're kind of not wrong. I mean, it is Europeans coming in and like really wanting them to accept a far more progressive perspective than their culture wants to accept.
So it's okay then?
No, I don't know.
Is that what you're saying, Dan?
What I'm saying is the shit's complicated.
No, it is. It's obviously complicated, but it's not like if homosexuality had not existed already in Uganda before the Europeans arrived. Right? Like they can delude themselves and think that all they want, that it just didn't exist. But the fact of the matter is that there were gay people, right, and trans people in Uganda before Western civilization ever stepped foot. Right.
There have always been, there will always be.
And so what we're really talking about here is a human right, right? We're talking about human rights here.
Yeah.
And not foreign values. Now, granted, the foreign values have come a long way, right?
Well, and human rights as a concept are a value.
No,
human
I know
rights
that. I know.
In that sense are so like we are imposing that value on them.
Yeah, I mean, I
demanding them to honor the rights of a human being.
The thing about human rights, and it is maybe the thing that really pisses people off who don't recognize human rights, is that it's a universal value, right? We see it as being a universal value, right? Those of us who believe in human rights, right? That all people, regardless of whatever jurisdiction they might fall in currently, right? That they naturally just have the right to these, to their sexuality or whatever. I'm sure of the fact that they're a woman in a society that would subjugate women.
Yeah, I'm sure very few Ugandans would have a problem with the statement that black people are inherently equal to white people.
Right.
Are inherently of equal value and of worth.
Right.
So
just because the people in your current power structure don't recognize human rights doesn't mean that they shouldn't, that they don't have value.
Yeah.
Even for because the people who are being like oppressed in your society, like that's not right. Sorry. It's the one thing that I feel like we can just be like, sorry guys, this is the best value that has ever been created, and it is universal. Sorry.
Yep. Well, tell that to Reverend Francis Xavier Kikomeko, who says, who is very proud that quote, "We have started to sensitize children in schools and homes against the vice of homosexuality."
Ooh, a vice. Okay.
A vice.
Yeah.
We want to make children and parents aware that homosexuality is a sin, and pro-gay activists should never influence them to join LGBTQ groups because it's evil and not accepted in the Bible.
Oh, God. But they're fine with that colonization.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that Bible that you're doing.
Wasn't that...
The whole game of dress up that you're playing with your fancy hat and your weird collar and whatever, that was colonization, my friend. That was legitimate. Nasty colonization that you are now embracing fully. But God forbid anybody's like, maybe don't be awful to a bunch of people because of an inherent trait inside of them.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We're not even saying you have to accept them.
No.
You just have to not be awful. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. Just the horror of the whole thing. All right.
You teach the children. Fuck it. Never mind. Go on. It's all so stupid.
Okay. So, Dan, I don't know how closely you've been following this whole Texas border with Mexico thing, because that's what it is.
Oh my God.
That's what it is. It's Texas's border with Mexico. Or if you are to believe Governor Abbott of Texas, it is clearly just only their special border with Mexico. So, God, where do you pick this story up? There's been a lot that's happened in the last week with regard to the border, including a a court decision by the Supreme Court that ruled that the federal government, not Texas, had authority over the border, and that border control, that's U.S. border control, the federal border control, could cut down the razor wire that Texas had erected at this site. Let's see, Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas, which is apparently kind of an epicenter of unauthorized border crossings. Right.
Yeah.
And so they put all this razor wire around it that limited the border patrol's access to the area. Right. And there was actually a migrant woman and 2 children that drowned just days after the razor wire was erected while attempting to cross the Rio Grande into Eagle Pass.
This is the razor wire that was put onto like floating buoys, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Jesus. Perhaps. I didn't get that deep into what razor wire we're talking about here. What's important is that the Biden administration claimed that the Texas National Guard had prevented Border Patrol from saving the woman and 2 children. Texas is denying it. And essentially what's happening is we are in the middle of a constitutional crisis of sorts.
I mean, like even the Supreme Court, as you say, understands that the law is the law. Sure. It's already been laid out. We know what the law is.
Right. Okay. But here,
it's just being ignored.
Herein enters the crisis. There is God's army. Let's just say what it is.
Yeah.
It's called Take Our Border Back, and they are calling themselves God's army. They say that they are on a mission to stand up against the globalists, who they say are conspiring to keep the U.S. borders open and subsequently destroy the country. They say, let's see, this is one of the main organizers of the group. This is a biblical monumental moment that's been put together by God. Put together.
Okay.
Let's see, they said this, she said it, I believe, on a recent planning call. She is Ruth. No, not Ruth. Kim Yeater. She's kind of helping put this whole thing together. She said, and this is from somebody else in the call, we are besieged on all sides by dark forces of evil. So their answer to this is they are sending a convoy to the southern border in order to...
I thought they hated those.
This is the good kind of convoy, Dan.
Oh, okay.
This is the God's army kind of convoy. Obviously, this whole thing is just dripping with Christian nationalist rhetoric, and which this is already a complicated situation with Governor Abbott taking the stance that he's taking, the Biden administration taking their stance, the courts are involved. People are calling on the Biden administration to federalize the Texas State Guard, which they technically would have the authority to do. Who knows what happens at that point?
Right.
So the website for Secure Our Borders is calling on, quote, all active and retired law enforcement and military, veterans, mama bears, elected officials, business owners, ranchers, truckers, bikers, media, and in all caps, law-abiding, freedom-loving Americans to join their cause.
Yeah, like all those bikers, those law-abiding bikers. Get out there and do your thing.
Oh, totally.
Oh, my God.
So they are planning 3 big events along the border in Texas, Arizona, and California, where they're sort of divide up, and they're going to have these big events. But the problem is the militaristic language surrounding the whole thing. A lot of these people in these groups are specifically talking about civil war. They say things like God's army is rising up. We've all been chosen for this time. And it's all, God, I'm just so glad it's happening in Texas and that Utah doesn't have a border to worry about.
Right.
Because this just feels like there's potential for some violence. Right. How much this spills over into a broader thing like quote unquote civil war, which these people seem to want. Right?
Oh, they're lusting for it. Yeah.
But how organized they are, how capable they are of like actually pulling off a civil war and not just more of January 6th.
Yeah.
Right.
And make no mistake, there's no crisis here. There is no, I mean, there is a crisis in that we do not have enough judges. Our system for taking in migrants is already in place and it's fine. It just needs to be peopled. There's nowhere near enough money in the system to handle the influx of people. Mm-hmm. But the rules are fine. The rules are good. Like they could even be loosened up a bit. That's the crisis.
Right.
The crisis that these people are talking about is racist. They just don't want brown people. End of story.
Well, it's the whole, I would assume it's a lot of they're taking our jobs, that mentality, right? Which has always been just a ludicrous, you know, argument, but
again, based on racism.
I guess it's the racism causes them to grasp at these other arguments.
Yeah.
But the root of it, I guess, would be racist. It is bizarre, and it's going to be interesting to see because Abbott is not backing down, and that's only adding fuel to these people's, you know, fire. So
yeah, I literally saw a TikTok of a guy, some MAGA guy, who was like, "I am calling on every Texas guardsman. If you are in the Texas National Guard, do not do what the Biden administration says. You go, you take up arms for freedom and blah, blah, blah." And it was literally like, I am calling on you guys to be traitors.
Yeah.
And so, that's out there. That is a sentiment that is definitely happening. So that's fun.
At this point, Dan, I am fine with them just let's just give them a little win and just give them some territory, right?
And let them have their own country.
And let them have their own little thing, and just everybody can just, oh yes, you won. Oh, you precious revolutionaries. Right?
Tennessee on down. We're gonna cut you away.
I mean,
we're probably keeping New Mexico and unfortunately Arizona, but the rest of you,
New Mexico's lovely. Sure. Yeah. Let's keep
the rest of you. Shoo. Texas, Alabama.
Just do your thing. Go have your third world country over there. Right.
Yeah.
Like go install like whatever. Oh God. I mean,
we'll be busy with our economy. With our, functioning economy.
I mean, I say it like, of course, like just not a for real sentiment, but like, it's just a beautiful little fantasy of just like, just let them do it and just fail so miserably.
Go have your
horrible, horrible country that they've been pining for since the 1800s.
Have your theocratic, authoritarian wet dream.
Give everybody
we'll see how it works.
Give everybody who would be oppressed and whatever, give them some time to get out. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And we will grant visas instantly.
We'll let all of you in, and
all the gay people, all the trans people. We can
actually have a social safety net and public housing in this country again. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody come here. Come on.
Please. Give us your tired, your poor.
Yeah, we'll put them up.
Huddled masses yearning to be free.
And we'll finally not have you guys, the yoke around our neck of your lunacy.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us now. There's danger here. So everybody, we're going to be careful. We're going to, I think I did my stories in the wrong order. So I'm closing us out on one that I didn't mean to close us out on, except that it is kind of good news, but good news on our show is always has caveats and footnotes and addenda and whatever. I'm taking us to Israel. Now, we're not going to be talking about any of the things that any of us are thinking of when we think of Israel at this moment in history. So
okay.
So let's put that conflict out of our minds and just talk about the fact that Israel as a country has an office of the chief rabbi.
Oh.
And this is an official office, and it's important. And the chief rabbi has a bunch of things. So, for instance, the chief rabbinate has to be consulted if you want to get married. And a lot of secular people, even though there's plenty of secular people in Israel, a lot of them can't get married the way they want to because you have to have a Jewish wedding.
Right. This is why people fly to Cyprus or whatever, right?
Right. So, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, the chief rabbinate, not a great thing. And here's the other thing about it is that, it's a country that's largely controlled by the Orthodox Jews among them.
Right.
And that means that there are very few women in the chief rabbi election assembly, which is a 150-member body that votes for the chief rabbi. Every 10 years, the chief rabbi gets to be chief rabbi for 10 years. And, this person is chosen by a group of mostly rabbis. Mm-hmm. There are some sort of citizens, I guess, that are part of it. But it's mostly rabbis. Well, the Israeli Supreme Court ruled last week that women could actually be considered rabbis for the purposes of electing the country's chief rabbi.
Oh.
So.
How this could not have been received well.
Yeah. I mean, it's women have been rabbis here in the United States among non-Orthodox denominations.
Sure.
For a while.
Yeah.
For a good long while. It is less common there. And I don't know if you've ever seen Orthodox rabbis getting mad about something, but they do it a lot. And so, yes, I think that they are, many of them, quite furious.
Oh, no.
But, it's a good step forward in the sense that, if they're going to have a theocratic, bass-ackwards, non-secular part of the government, at least more of the country is represented when making the decision.
Right. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, one would probably just want to get rid of the chief rabbinate.
Right? Let's how about no rabbis are in charge of the country?
Yeah.
And they're just in charge of the religion.
Yeah. A rabbi could run for office.
Sure.
Rabbis get to vote.
Yeah.
Right? We're not talking about disenfranchisement or anything.
No, not at all.
Just maybe not their own special branch of the government or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Interesting.
So there you go. Little baby steps all over the world eventually maybe lead to something. So there you go. If you have more information, if you've seen how rabbis have responded to this and wanted to comment, or if you're a rabbi, Rabbi Gruber, I'm looking at you, and you have anything to say about this, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or Colin leaves a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Frank, I don't know if you remember the name Lauren Witzke. This is a youngish woman who was at one point in 2020 the GOP's candidate for Senate in Delaware.
Okay.
So
I do not remember this person.
She got and then she turned out to be more than just sort of a Trumpite. She's a literal nutball. But she's a frequent commentator on far right podcasts and OAN shows or whatever. And this is her she likes to opine as people do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. She has decided she wants to talk about what 9/11, what was really going on there.
Because I cannot imagine this is going to be good.
This
might be offensive. Is it offensive?
Oh, wildly offensive. Yeah, of course it is. And also just really cuckoo bananas.
All right. Let's hear it.
Okay.
I believe that 9/11 was a human sacrifice on a mass scale. I think that, they have been doing this work with these demons, but the devil demands a sacrifice. Look at any person in Hollywood or famous person. They had to sacrifice something, whether it was their innocence or another person or a thing or a child in order to get to where they are. You have to provide a sacrifice. And if the government is working with these demons, they demand their sacrifice, and just killing one person isn't going to be enough. You have to kill 3,000. Oh, and you have to do it on live television. Oh, and you have to air it in every classroom, a public school classroom in the country. So it was very much so. I believe that 9/11, spiritually, was a human sacrifice, some kind of sacrificial presentation for the powers that be that are taking over our government and working with our government.
Okay, so to recap, 9/11, the government did 9/11, not Osama bin Laden, I suppose.
So the Bush administration.
Right?
So it's
Who
true.
was in charge then?
It was Dick Cheney. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, exactly. The Republican government, in league with demons.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Did a human sacrifice event for
what was the purpose?
She didn't give a purpose.
Yeah. I mean, at least her claim that Hollywood celebrities had to kill someone to get their celebrity.
Possibly a child.
At least it's oh, okay, so they can be a celebrity.
Right. At least you're right.
Like this, it's yeah, but what who got to do what? Because
to what end?
George Bush was already president. So what? But also just this idea that in order to have any kind of notoriety, to be known in any sort of way to whatever, this is just how the system works, right? You have to sacrifice. I want to know who she's killed. Right?
You're pretty famous right now.
Which of her children?
Who did you sacrifice?
Did was it really Sid's?
Yeah.
Oh,
man. I'm usually the one, but this time it's Frank, everybody. Write in. If you're furious with Frank about how dark he went just there, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
I'm just saying, Lauren,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yikes. Grandma was not just taken off the ventilator.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of that email address, we've got an email here, and then we'll thank people. Here we go. This is from Mark, who says, listening to your ideas about donating copies of the 10 Commandments. Remember, we're not telling anybody about this. I thought of another idea. Instead of the commandments, how about nicely framed copies of the Beatitudes? These Christian militants love the commandments for their stern demands.
Right.
But I wonder if they would be as keen to hear the words of their Lord blessing the meek and the peacemakers.
Right. They don't like the Beatitudes anymore, do they?
Right? It is so weird. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. Obviously, we can't do that because the language of the law that we referenced in that story is very clear that it has to be the 10 Commandments.
Right.
And they lay out, because listen, if you know anything about the Bible, the 10 Commandments are not, like, there's not widespread agreement on what they specifically are, because it's not listed out in the book as 10 specific commandments. It's just a bunch of people. It's just the Lord saying things.
Right.
And so it's not clear, is I am the Lord thy God? Is that a commandment? Is the commandment thou shalt have no God before me? Or like literally different sects follow those differently. But there is a place in the Bible that is called the 10 Commandments, the 10 words they call it, but it's 10 actual commandments laid out specifically in that way. And they'd be unrecognizable. That's not from Exodus. That's from maybe Deuteronomy, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
And like those are commandments like thou shalt keep the festival of unleavened bread.
Oh yeah,
like that's one of the commandments.
It's one of my favorite commandments.
In the actual 10 Commandments. Not me. I like my bread fluffy. But yeah, so if it weren't laid out specifically in the law, like what the words are, the only words that can be on the thing, I would do the other 10 Commandments. I was really excited, hoping that I could do a poster that is like the Festival of Unleavened Bread, and everybody be like, what the fuck is this? Unfortunately, it's like that. But I think you make a much more important, larger point, which is that like so many people, when you say, okay, if you believe in the Bible, you know, why doesn't your wife sacrifice a bird every time she has her period? And they say, oh, well, those laws, those are the Old Testament.
Sure.
That's a different thing. That doesn't count.
Even though they're taking their 10 Commandments from the Old Testament.
Right. Why do you like the 10 Commandments then when you've got the Beatitudes? That's Jesus. That's straight out of the man's mouth, according to the Bible.
Right.
That's your guy. But nobody's in a rush to put the Beatitudes on the walls of a courthouse or in the halls of a school.
Yeah.
So I think
they've never really agreed with it.
Yeah, they hate that. They like literally. There's a clip of Jordan Peterson, who's now sort of one of the new gods of the alt-right, saying that we're all misinterpreting the blessed are the peacemakers and the meek. He hates that word meek. He doesn't.
It's horrible. Horrible.
And
word.
he's like, what it actually says, and he has no evidence for this, and he's absolutely wrong about it. He's like, what it actually says is, blessed are those who have a sword and know how to use it, but don't.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not at all what he said. He said the meek shall inherit the earth. Guess what that means? Violent dickheads don't.
Right.
But but they can't handle that because they have to defend the border of Texas. How can they do that with meekness? How can they do that if they have to be peacemakers?
Right.
Blessed are the cheesemakers. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do, Dan. We have I don't think this person is actually new, but they're back. So we're going to acknowledge them coming back as a supporter of the show, a new patron on Patreon, a new teacher by the name of Taru.
Oh, Taru's back.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Hello, Taru. Thank you so much.
And if you'd like to join Taru in supporting the show and all the other patrons of the show, you can do so by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank, we teased about it.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the show.
Oh, and what a tease.
We're such teases. Guys, listen, there is a category now that is showing up in the demography, in the sociology, because we've all heard about the spiritual but not religious,
right?
The people who want to believe in some magic in the universe, but they don't want all that religion bullshit,
right?
They just feel it in their hearts. They just know, they feel a sense that there is something in the universe with which to connect.
But all that organized religion crap, right? Like that's not for them.
That's not for them. Well, guess what? The opposite is also true for some people. There is a group of people, and it's not a small group of people.
No, turns out,
who love all the ritual and prayer and rules, traditions, like all the most oppressive parts of religion. That's what they're keen on. They don't necessarily believe in like a god or all the sort of theology and none of that touchy-feely shit. They just like the rules.
Yeah. Really wild stuff.
Yeah.
Really wild.
Here's the thing. We human beings, there's a lot of us, and we work different from each other. And I think that's one of the things that, the more you look at how humanity works, the more we need to like really open up our minds to the idea that not everybody works the way we do. And for the most part, the way I work, like meaning like for most people, when they look at the world, they think the way I work not only is the way everybody else works, but if they don't work that way, they are wrong. I just don't think we can go there. Yeah. I think we need to give up on that. I think we need to start saying, people are different.
Yeah.
And
it's okay as long as they're not hurting other people.
Long as they're not hurting other people.
Their
now,
difference.
I would say that affiliation with organizations that are hurting other people, is probably problematic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
totally.
if you they talked to a couple of Orthodox Jews who aren't really necessarily into the God thing,
but still like are kosher and and still engage in a lot of the traditions and
they follow the rules of Shabbat and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. All of that is fine, and except that they are kind of granting their assent to the hatred of LGBTQ people or all of that sort of thing. And here's the thing: when you look at the demographics, while the category of spiritual but not religious is largely liberal, the category of religious but not spiritual is largely conservative.
Well, it's right. Yeah. It was. I think it said those who are or lean Republican make 51% of the group, whereas 42% identify as Democrats or lean toward the Democratic Party, and so like. It is a larger group, but that's only
you're right. It's not huge.
It's not huge, but it also does make sense that it would be the larger group to my mind, right?
Yeah.
Like I also because like there was a story in the article of some guy who like was still like going to church and participating in their different activities, and I was like, oh, because the thing that did break down is that there were more men in this group, right? Whereas women tend to be more in the spiritual but not religious group, right? And I was like, well, that makes total sense because like these churches and or religions, more broadly speaking, tend to have these like power structures, right?
Yes.
And if you're a cisgender heterosexual man, you've kind of found your place.
You
right?
like power structures as they currently are.
This is your jam. Like, this is like, these people love you, and why not love them back, right?
Yeah.
Because they're reinforcing, all of the narrative about how fucking special you are, right?
Yeah.
And in a world where that's slipping away from them. Right.
I gotta say,
I kind of get it. I kind of get why it would be more largely male.
I also understand why it would lean right.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the sense that, I've read studies that have said that people who are right leaning in this country
mm-hmm.
and in the world actually tend to be more authoritarian minded. They
right.
like a top down power structure.
Right.
And they want it to be authoritarian. They don't actually want, sort of majority rule or plurality or whatever. They like rules and laws. So it totally makes sense
mm-hmm.
that the category that likes the rules of religion but just doesn't want like the touchy feely stuff would also lean to the right on
mm-hmm.
that, in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Did we say what percentage of the country? I think. Have we gotten to that? 10% are religious but not spiritual?
Right. As compared to like 22% spiritual but not religious.
Right. Or 21% neither spiritual nor religious.
Right.
Which is us.
Which leaves only 48% of the country being both spiritual and religious.
Yeah.
Considering themselves to be both.
That sort of fit into like what the whole religion thing is about.
Right.
Only 48%.
Right. One of the things that it means, if we're going to be technical about it, that this article didn't actually go into, but technically what it means is that the percentage of people who claim a religion but are actually atheists, like we should probably be taking them out of one category, i.e. religious believers, and lopping them into another category, which is either atheists or agnostics or something along those lines.
Right.
In terms of belief, not in terms of practice. And that's a tricky part too, because affiliation doesn't necessarily mean belief.
Right. Oh yeah, totally.
And we know that, you and I live in a state that is just chock full of people who are still going to Mormon church.
Oh, I was just thinking about the ex-Mormon subreddit right now. And, yeah. And how many people are sort of get on there and just agonize over their situation, that they're I think they use the acronym PIMO, PIMO, right?
Which is what?
Physically in, mentally out.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They're like, and it's always some sort of combination of, I can't let down my family, or my spouse is still a believer, or whatever. Right. And here's this person who they're describing an absolutely miserable existence. And I'm sure it's not wholly, fully 100% miserable for them. But the moment that they're sitting down and typing something out on Reddit, they're just in a bad place. Right. Complaining about having to like listen to these talks on Sunday, and the people that they're having, like, they're listening to sort of these horrible views of the world and of, gay people or whatever from like other people at church, and how much they just disagree with the whole thing. And they're just there to keep the peace. I
have multiple friends who no longer believe that Mormonism is real, and yet continue to go for various reasons to Mormon church.
It's absolutely wild. And it's, boy, what a rough spot to be in.
I'll tell you something nice. In terms of demographics, one thing that's nice is that we can count on the fact that self-reported atheists are not just going through the motions of being atheists and actually are believers. Like that's not a thing that exists. So at very least we know our numbers are not going are like you're not going to diminish our numbers when you find out what's really going on inside. Because the second somebody says, oh, you know what, I actually believe in a religion, there is no social reason why you keep saying the word atheist the second you believe something.
I mean, couldn't it be the same thing? You're in a relationship and the other person's an ardent atheist and
you just don't have the guts to tell them.
You're like, oh man, like life is generally really good. And like, except for this whole thing of like, I just love Jesus so much.
I guess it's possible.
It doesn't seem probable though.
It doesn't seem very likely. No, no, it does not.
Like it took me actually walking through it to realize how stupid of an idea that
was. All right. Well, there you go. They're out there, people. They're going to church every week, weirdly, or they're going to synagogue. They're performing the rituals, they're saying their prayers, and they don't believe a word of it. So enjoy that part of humanity, I guess. Enjoy knowing that exists. If you would like to comment on it, let us know your feelings about the whole thing. Please feel free to write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and let us have your information.
If you'd like to join one of our members-only groups, you can do so by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members-only.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.